select board meeting from last Tuesday. Because we've lost our New England hardiness and putting up with the weather, I guess. So anyway, we're here tonight. Before I kick off, a couple things I want to touch base on. For those who attended Ray Buxton's funeral, it was very impressive. The church was packed. And it was very well done. And Ray was a gentleman and a scholar and a great citizen of the town of Newfields. The other thing I want to mention before we move on. So Badger Park, the enclosure that holds the bell down there, the legs had rotted and they were just decorative around the front there, but it all soaked up the water and they were all rotten. CPR Construction, which is owned by Munch Merrick, went and replaced those and put Trex along all the bottom, or AZAC or whatever he used, and he did that. And he also fixed the fascia where the corner back there, where when they replaced the fascia this summer, apparently there was some little vermin in there that decided he didn't want to live inside, so he chewed his way out. And Munch fixed both of those with no charge to the town. And he said, that's what you do, you take care of me. So much appreciation to Munch Merrick and CPR Construction taking care of that business. First order of business.
The poll marking by Zoom.
I don't know how to do that.
Zoom in.
And I thought it was all taken care of. I don't know.
I was given the instructions by the lieutenant.
Okay.
I was given the instructions to stream, so anybody at home can watch this.
Okay.
I can't control how Mark.
I think you're supposed to check in somehow, but
Okay. I just don't know if we need a device here for him
yeah,
to zoom into.
I have, that's way above my pay grade
All right.
intentionally.
I'll take a peek. See.
All right, first item on the agenda tonight is the library budget. And this is our third go around on this. So I think we can knock it out this time. Because we got other people here, I'm going to set a timer for you on 15 minutes. So we don't go 25 or 30, whatever. Sound reasonable?
Sounds fine.
I do that. The clock is running.
And a third one for key shift.
Okay. Floor, sir.
Okay. So what's in front of you is where we left off, the fully loaded budget. We had talked about increases because our goal was to get the library director up to comparables. In the deck that I handed you, you can see, sorry, I don't have enough of this here. You can see on, I think I put it on page 4. I do have, well, you've got it before in the presentation we've done before, was all the comps that were there. We were the lowest in the area. This has been going on for a number of years. We've done our best, but it really comes to a head when you're trying to hire a director for a position, not in a competitive marketplace. We're lucky we have the one we have today, but you're not building around one person or an individual. You're building towards the future. So this is the year we had talked about in years past, strategic initiative to try and get that person some sort of benefits comparable to whatever we have at town. Since then, Sue has sent over the benefits that I guess other members in town have. As I mentioned, that's kind of the standard protocol for towns when they're doing benefits. On the page 3, I pointed out the full what it was. It is I did the FICA, which is something Donna normally did for us. So I took Sue's inputs and did the FICA, and that was the $8,295 for the FICA for all 4 employees that we have. You'll see the substitute librarian doesn't have that. That would come out of some of that other money if one of the other people were sick. That it's just within that. So that's why the 0 is there. Then below it, there's actually a mistake right here where it says director FICA. That's actually New Hampshire retirement. Then there was an employee benefit for healthcare, and then dental. So we've been meeting around this. Our board met, said we would love to try and get something. That's our goal. So you'll see under benefits, the $14,194. That would be just the single coverage because obviously it's determined whether it's single, married, or family. We only calculate it out to the single. Okay. So that's where that 14,000 comes in for the benefits right there. So that's a significant new, as well as the raise that you saw for the librarian, and that's also page Page 4 in the back, you can see where they're at, where we currently have Andrew Sullivan. He's doing a dual job, library assistant and children's librarian. He started this summer. There's Susan McClellan, who started in October. And then we have a substitute librarian pool that we'll pull from. They're only at 16 and they float. They're all at 0 there for the rate because they get paid out of whatever the other people want there. So that works. So there's a calculation just for the personnel and benefits right there. I don't know if you want to stop or go through the whole thing.
I do.
Okay.
If you don't mind, sir. So the 2026 request came in at 147,836. Concur.
The
Budget.
from last to 26.
The 26 budget request. And then you have health insurance at $14,194. Dental insurance is $604.44. And then with the FICA and the retirement, you add in another $12,931. So that gives me a budget final number for you within the ballpark of $175,115 compared to last year's budget of $76,000.
Right, where there was nothing.
So you're basically going up $99,000.
So no, take out the dental.
Okay, so
As I said-
take out $600.
Take out the dental, so I wouldn't put dental in there. And you're looking at this page right here. Correct? Yeah.
And the computations I did in preparation.
Pulling Mark into the meeting. Just gonna.
Mark's in? Okay.
Can you hear me? Perfect.
So you should have a total 132. It's on the first page. $925. So the difference is right there, 76,401.
Your budget request before we asked you for the other numbers was 127, right? And now I'm looking at the bottom of the page,
Yes, and that went up because
7,325.
if we can just stick to, so I said, before you go to the bottom, I'm looking at salaries because other line items changed. Most notably since the last time, the HVAC maintenance, which is 17.5, it was at
I'm going
500.
to take that separate, the HVAC. I'm going to keep that out because that was not in your original.
It was not,
Yeah,
but that's a,
I'd like to address that separate.
okay,
Okay,
and I put it in here.
okay.
That's where you're getting that
I
addition.
still came up with 175 basic for what you're asking for this year. Over the 76 and change from last year.
And we went back in and changed some other line items just after more looking at it. I could there are things we can take out and sharpen, like consulting. These are some of the things we were like, probably don't need that. That was for the Scott Campbell. We could take out, but we wanted to come back in with a fully loaded budget and have the discussion on some of these other points. Yeah.
I think it's prudent to trim where you can, looking at a potentially big jump.
Well, it's a huge jump. Let's be honest. Let's be clear as day.
I mean,
And that's what we're trying to get to with the comps and why we did the presentation. We've been kicking this down the road for some time now.
yeah,
It's a huge jump.
to prioritizing. I would imagine at this point, prioritizing human resources and looking at that as more of a priority. Unless I'm looking at it differently, that might be just my opinion, but
No. The opinion's welcome because this is what we gotta kind of hash out here. Couple of things. I'll go down past because obviously salaries is higher, right? Obviously that makes your FICA higher, right? And the numbers are right there. That's a massive difference there. The benefits is huge and we've been pretty open with our director to talk about that and what they would like and what we can do and what we can afford, right? And we're looking for feedback from you on that lineup. But as we go down to the next utilities, we had a question when we were in here. We know that the town pays for telephone, but we had a question when we were here in October on water, sewer, electric and fuel. And we were like, how is this getting paid? And we were waiting for that answer from you guys.
$6,000. That's,
But we just put that in there because that's
I
that.
understand that. Yep. I still find the salary, the request extremely high. We have ALS coming up.
Yep, you explained that.
And that's going to be a $46,000 bill that we have to look forward to. We've got a number of other things coming up. We've also going to be battling, that for lack of a better term, $500,000 for the school, which is another impact on the tax basis. We've got to replenish some of our warrant trust funds, most notably the legal one, and we've got to replenish the road agent one. The healthcare one is all set because we only spent $3,000 out of the 20,000 on that. So these are all the items.
These are all the items, and this is another item there that you guys need to weigh out. We tried to give you all the data that we can.
I understand that.
Reasoning for this.
And then,
So here we are, and it's like, how are we gonna get past this impasse? You know, and then what we were asked to add in, but we need guidance and say, yeah, I don't know how you guys want to go about this. If it's no, it's no. If the vote says no, if you're not going to support it, we need just to know. This is what we're coming and asking for.
you know,
I understand the position. Listen, I get it. We all pay taxes. All of us.
and we just, by dropping 175,000 at the select board meeting last week, we lowered the tax rate. So it dropped by 40 cents. And we're still getting hit hard by the schools, because the schools at the top of the list with 1121 for the local schools per thousand. So we're kind of in a box here. One of the options that's been asked of me is, what about you going on a citizen's petition for a warrant article
For the salaries?
for everything but the maintenance, and the town will cover the telephone, the water, the sewer, the electric, and the fuel oil.
Everything but the maintenance.
And those 4 items I just listed. This is a huge,
Yeah,
huge.
there's $17,500 worth of huge in that.
And well, I'm not talking about, we can talk about the maintenance items later. I want to save that for later, till later in the meeting. I just have a real hard time standing behind this kind of 14% budget increase for the library.
What it sounds like is a warrant article would make it a broader decision and it wouldn't rest on just this board to approve or disapprove as far as spending other people's money, which is how I feel at this table. When we make decisions that involve spending money, we're making that decision for everyone.
Right, but you can't, can we do that for salaries? I think the answer is no. Is that correct?
Um,
You're suggesting everything below HR.
Full-time position, or moving to the full-time position.
That's what we want to put on the warrant. Just that ask, not a dollar amount? Not a dollar amount?
have a dollar amount if it's a warrant.
With all the other things we have coming in, I have a really hard time getting behind this. And I have noticed problem making the decision, but I think something of this magnitude should probably allow the voters to stand up and make that decision. I can make a decision and I would have no problem making my decision either way, but I think it would be appropriate for the residents of the town to weigh in on this at the ballot box.
Makes some sense. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good option, I guess.
Mark, are you hearing everything?
Listening, yes, and I have to agree that, we can't lock on that kind of a burden right now. It would have to be something that the town wholly would vote for. Can't just be us three saying, sure, let's do that. I would love to, and I would love to be able to say, fantastic, let's do it. But as Hobie just mentioned, we just went through a whole exercise on how everyone's taxes are going up, essentially. That's coming out in the bill, and we did what we could to knock down that tax burden for everyone. But still, it was putting us in a box, so to speak. Yes.
So not to cut you off, but Mark, I'm on a timer here, I guess.
You are.
Thank you. If we're going to do the warrant article, who writes it? I'm assuming it would not be supported by the 3 selectmen. I'm fine with that. You just have to write that at the bottom.
Well, we did, when we address all the warrant articles, we'll address where our support stands, how we feel about it
Right.
in January.
That's fine. I'm just assuming you guys would, I'm just assuming that, I'm not putting words in your mouth, assuming that you'd write that, that's fine. Would we be writing it or you guys?
We'd need to
Write it?
This petition together, get 25 signatories and then present it and then hammer it out, make sure it has a dollar figure so we don't go through all the goat rope that we did last year with the weekly recycling at the town meeting. So at the deliberative session.
Do we have to put a fallback budget on that?
I don't know the answer to that
You
one.
know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, if no, then this.
Yes,
Mhm.
that would be prudent.
Yes,
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I get where you're coming from.
and yeah, a no vote would mean people know exactly.
Right. I get it. Okay. So can we move on that and go to other line items if you have them?
Other issues that I have
Other issues?
talk about?
Yeah, there's a big one there. You said you want to talk about. I want to talk about that.
That, because we got people here on a schedule and that's,
So it's that you want to have that separate from this.
yes, I do want to deal with those.
Staying and waiting for that.
Yeah, I just want to move through the agenda because we've got people that come into the meeting. And then we will get to you and probably.
Okay, so then I'll quickly look at the other things. The other things on this are pretty much similar to what they were last year. Right? You will look at book purchases significantly up. Book purchases, our main supplier for pretty much every library in the world in the US, just got repurchased. What's their names again? They went out of business and they got bought by somebody else and it's a mess. So we're doing that. Books are going up, you know, we get covers, the Friends typically covers off $3,000 on that. Different subject, going back to them. We haven't met with them to adjust that, but books are going up. Okay, so you got that. That's one key one there. Apollo, which is our subscription base. That's how our catalog we look up cost. That's a subscription base. That's our whole card catalog, right? That's going up. Programs and activities, which have been going great. And the Friends who we discussed have overly paid for that are going have done well, but that is also an uptick in our budget, as you can see, along with the building and maintenance. On the second page, this is something that we're putting together for you guys. That shows our income. When we were here last, I said I would meet with the trustees of the trust, the Mellon Fund. I have not had a chance to sit down with them. That's at 12,000. That's the fund that the Paul sisters put together for this. I haven't got everything else is pretty much where it was. Okay. And then there's the Friends contributions on the bottom too, put that in there. And as we mentioned last time, you know, they've done a great job for us of the tune of almost $18,000, which is pretty damn good. And then I got all the FICA stuff and all that guys in there.
Sure.
And then the hours and stuff are on the back for consideration.
Okay, hang on a second. When I thought I had one other question for you. No, I'm all set. Yeah. And it isn't that we don't appreciate what you're trying to do.
This is just
We're in a box here.
business and money.
Business, as they say in Atlanta.
Business and money.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And you pretty damn hit the timer.
Hope everybody gets the time. Not just me.
Okay, so you got 3 meetings. You got the timer. All right, next item on the agenda is the road agent. Sir.
Did you get copies?
Yes, sir. Did you get one, Ken?
You get a copy from the girls in the office?
Email? Did you get it by email?
Send it.
There should be one in your pen.
Distribute.
Oh.
I can give you one if you
Take a peek.
need it.
You have it.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So last year, our proposed budget was $460,600. We knocked it down. It was actually, we got it down to 400,600 because we had encumbered 60,000 from the previous year. Correct?
I've got your final number here, Brian, 430.
Yeah, that's for this year.
Yeah.
Last year,
Yes.
proposed was 460,000.
Yes, sir.
And then we encumbered 60,000, so the actual budget that we had to work with was 400, well, the operating budget was 400,600.
Yeah.
This year, I'm asking for the 430. 600. Last year was the first year in 15, because like in 2010, we set up a paving schedule. We wanted to do a mile of road every year, to get every road hit approximately every 15 to 20 years. That never worked out, the whole. But this year, 2025 was the first time we actually did 6,200 feet, so a little 1,000 feet over a mile. When we did Bassett Lane, Beatrice, reclaimed 2.5-inch binder and shoulder. Now, those roads are all roads that were built by developers back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So we hadn't touched them. We hadn't spent any money on them in, the 25 years. Now, we still have Scanlon, Heath, Runaway, Hayden, and Deer Trees that were all built for 20 years ago by developers that we've never paid. So in this year's budget, we are including Deer Trees and Hayden, which would take care of all of the Deer Trees development. And then we're also looking at doing Swampstead downtown here, because this is one of the worst. You're down by the railroad tracks and up through there. It's one of the worst. So that'll be approximately 4,900 feet of road, which is just shy of a mile. So that would be our paving budget of approximately 240 of the 430.
Because I noticed the rest of your budget is flat all the way
Yeah,
all the way.
we kept the rest of the budget. The only thing that really,
Steady.
yeah, salt's holding steady. And we've been lucky in the past 3-4 years with our winters too. One of these years, we're not going to be so lucky.
2025.
It's not starting out good. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish this 2026. Finish up Deer Trees, get Swampscott Road, because we do have the plans for Pleasant and Summer Street being redone on a separate money.
We now have the water department saying they want to come in and do all the main replacement
I
prior,
believe just on Summer Street.
and they'll own that.
Yeah.
That's their expense, not ours.
And that's all in the works, been in the works, but, I mean, I would have paved Summer Street 3 years ago if that, but. So but hopefully that's, preliminary plans are out, it's all, hopefully spring or summer,
Working.
we'll get Pleasant and Summer additional this year too. So
Let me ask you about Quinn Court.
Quinn Court, we'll get that in spring,
Okay.
for sure.
You're gonna be able to
It's
fill,
only 200 feet, 250 feet.
fill that swimming pool,
Pretty much a drive.
and fill that swimming pool at the end,
Yeah,
okay, before the winter.
so. Any other questions?
Mark?
Martin, you have any questions?
Something that I had mentioned a while back.
Yeah, Rivers Reach is in that list. Runaway.
I was going to bring up. Yes, that's my road. That would be great if you did.
Well, that's one of the ones with Scanlon and Heath.
Yeah.
Partridge Hill, yeah, all of those.
Was that I know there's a favored paving company that you use. And I think through a process that we've done for every single other repair or maintenance and anything of this scale should be put out for bid.
Yeah,
Whether we choose to use them again or not, we should follow that process, because we start getting into a weird place if we're just picking and choosing without that bidding process.
and we can certainly do that, but it's gonna cost you more money in the long run.
more money to just send out a bit to have them bid on the,
Yeah, because you're gonna have to have an engineering firm do a bid package explaining every step, what you want done. You know, type of mix, so everybody's doing the exact same thing. You just can't say, go drive over there and give me a price to do.
so I understand that.
That's
And I think that you also have the specs on what the grade of the asphalt is and how deep, how far.
You do, yeah, but I'm not an engineer and so.
But
We,
would be the process. And
I mean, we've been working with Bell and Flynn since 1960, the town of Newfields. And they're 3 miles down the road. So in the winter time, if I need a grader, a loader, if I'm in a bind at midnight in the middle of a blizzard, I can call Johnny Bell and within 2 hours, I'll have whatever we need. If something's a problem, we've just always worked really well. And we've done prices on private jobs where I've gotten some of the bigger companies and we're talking maybe $1,000 difference. You're talking $1, maybe $1.50 a ton. And we do 1,000 ton, maybe 1,500 ton in a good year. You're talking minimal savings to lose a relationship you've had. And I've talked to this since 1981, when I was first road agent. I've talked with every select board on this.
mhm,
And
there was never a bid, never any kind of bidding process.
nope. I mean, if you want to go out and get bids, you can.
You mean me personally?
Yeah. Selectmen, whatever.
The way it works, it would be, the process would be that, we would submit it out for bid.
Well, yeah, so you could write something up and send it out. Yep.
And it's not a slight towards them. It's just staying with, protocol that we do with everyone else. So if I just took them out of the equation and I said, we've had a great relationship with XYZ doing the roofing. I think we should pick them for this roof here. And, someone could just simply say, well, why are you picking them? You know what I mean?
And I say, I'm picking them because I know their work. I know I know what kind of people they are. I don't have to stay there. If I get somebody else, some of these bigger companies, then I'm gonna have a guy there the whole 8 hours, which you're gonna pay another $60, $70 an hour for somebody to keep an eye on them. I've never had to do that with Bell and Flynn. So there's no money savings. You could put it out to bid and then you don't have to accept the cheapest bidder either. So you could throw it out there, but I'm not gonna do that because there's a private contractor. I'm not gonna waste other people's time to come down and drive around and figure this stuff out.
It's not wasting time. I think this is wasting time. I think it's just part of, it's not, I mean, everything that we do here has to be like out in the open. That's what I'm saying. And I still think it's something worthwhile to do. Whether they come in again, I mean, if they submit a bid and there are a couple of other bids that come in, and let's say doesn't matter if they're higher or if some other bidder is coming in lower, doesn't mean that we're going to pick the lowest bidder.
You don't have to, exactly. But you gotta have somebody write up some type of bid package. So everybody's bid in the same, apples for apples. That's the big thing.
If you have those specs, which I am.
I don't, you can go by the state of New Hampshire, but That's normally what the road specs are, but every road's different. There's different. There's, our roads are all, half of them are cow paths built into, made into a road, and that's why a lot of the roads get done in 10 years instead of in 20 years, because they don't have the right base. And we don't have the money to excavate them and build them the way the new standards are since the 90s.
Or the right of ways on some of it.
Well, yeah, so,
So we're not pulling up the old road.
no, all we're doing is grinding the old asphalt. On the ones that are beyond being top coat, which all the new developments
Okay.
in the past, since 2000, or Deer Trees was started in 1996. We're just spending money on them now, but they were built to a better standard. But we've let them go so long because we haven't had the money to pave the amount of roads we should in here. Not because we haven't asked for it, it's just because it's not the right time. This year is not the good year. And that can just keeps getting kicked down the road.
Well, I'm glad that we're getting it done. I just think that that's the right way to approach it.
Well, you guys can talk about it. Let me know.
Sounds good.
Thank you, sir. Kat, anything else?
No? Anyone else?
Council.
Kessler Celebration Committee. Emailed you guys the budget, got it out of that. Okay. Questions?
No.
Small budget,
So you're up $1,810.
okay?
That's what I'm saying.
So, yeah, we had, 300 for the senior lunch, that we identified this year. And just with, additional signs and flags that we're gonna need, I just put some additional, for that.
I'm good with him. Are you good with it?
I'm good.
So you do have that money
I do,
in the,
yeah, I do, and
spend that, or if you want to spend that, you got to present the receipts and then they'll transfer the money and they'll reimburse you for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
absolutely.
What extra are you doing for the 250th?
So for the 250th, we've actually cleaned up with the library, on a couple of things. The first is, a preview of, is it PBS?
Yeah, PBS.
Yeah, PBS Revolution, 250 years, to do a pre-screening of that here in Town Hall. So we've submitted, proposal for that. And then we get additional money if we're going to look to do something else having to relate with the 250th. Now, just having done the 175th and everything that we did for that, it was a hell of a proposal because we were already on top of all that stuff. And so one of the things that we talked about was doing another encampment with the militia. So we reached out to them. They are interested in doing that. So we're thinking that would be part of the additional 250th. And then in addition to that, I've gotten so much good feedback about the fireworks. Looking to do fireworks on that Memorial Day weekend as well. So just waiting to get my quote back from the company on that.
So, yeah, it's 38.7 last year. Okay. Have you considered for the like on the fireworks issue, when you get a price on that, seeking any contributions from some of the local businesses?
I have not considered that, but I will. I don't think that's unreasonable.
And the analogy I offer is when I've spoken to local business owners in town in regards to the veterans and Badger Park. Yep. They have all said, when you get your IRS approval, which we're still waiting on, yep, we will be more than glad to write a check for Badger Park. So I think it might be a resource for you as far as moving forward with some of the whiz bang stuff you want to do for Memorial Day. Yeah, and I'm not saying anything either pro or con on your budget. It looks reasonable, but there's another resource out there. You know, we're in the top 10 towns per capita in the state for income.
I know.
And
Understood. And I will consider, I do. I will draw up a plan and let you guys know how I make out.
Okay.
That.
just a suggestion. Kat?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Mark? Okay.
It's a good idea.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. See everybody next weekend.
Gonna be cold.
Celebration.
Gonna be cold.
Yes. No.
Super. All right, Mr. Barry, you're up.
It's putting me on the agenda. This is about the boundary, the town and our property abutting each other. And I guess in the interest of time, I obviously don't have anything fully prepared, but I was wondering if there would be an ability to come to the town with a specific proposal at the next meeting, very detailed, and maybe some ideas that I think could be reasonable, but also mutually beneficial if possible, and completely understand the situation. And there's a little bit of a story about, when we moved in and what was there originally, and of course, what's going on right now. So I guess there's two questions. One is would it make sense for me to come back with something, I think in 2 weeks? When's the next meeting?
Next week.
Next week. Okay. Next week.
Yeah.
That's pretty detailed and formal and
What's your proposal?
the gist is I think there's a couple options to at least offer up in terms of either, so the space that we're talking about that I can estimate right now, because not really knowing exactly what the line is probably about 80 to 120 square feet total in a triangle. And part of what I thought was, is there a way to kind of have some legal shape around complete, hold harmless to the town for usage or whatever that looks like. But also there's no intent on our end. When we moved in, that space was actually being used by the prior owners, and and based on where the bushes are and the landscaping, we never really thought about it in the sense of, okay, where is this actual line? Particularly when those bushes were there, we cleaned it up, we mulched the property, that we mulched and pruned on our side and on where we felt was the town property, and then ours. And then of course there's the stone. There was stone there before, we had it refreshed. And we do recognize that there's a piece there that isn't ours. We're totally like, okay, we understand. So here we are, and my proposal would be around us taking full responsibility to draw up something that the town says, okay, yes or no. And that could be, again, buying it, leasing it, complete, legal documentation around, we have no intention of, under a lease or usage, have no intention of ever saying this is our property. But because essentially what's happening is there's that triangle of land that as of now has, call it about half a car, right? And again, we recognize there's some detail about what's further up, and there's like a box area too. And that's the part that we would love to just stand there with you or anyone and say, can we come up with something here, which would also include us taking really good care of that area as well, including planting. We would take full responsibility of planting up toward the fence line and basically donating that to the town as well. And so there's some stuff I thought we could work with that's a little bit, at least creative, but I don't have anything drawn up other than kind of options in mind that we would love for you to consider.
Well, we had the property surveyed in 2015, and we did that. And we used it quite extensively this year when we were working on the rain gardens, which was a an issue, and you asked me about it, why we were doing it, because of
Right.
tax ramification. That was voted on by the town in 2023 to move forward, and we're receiving funding from the state. And it's also helping us with our mitigating pollution going into
Sure.
watershed.
That's great.
So that's why we're doing that, in answer to your question.
I understand.
I am concerned about doing that as far as precedent setting forward. I don't think it's a good idea as far as precedent of just running into those agreements. Town property boundaries are property boundaries, and maybe if it was a one-on-one with a neighbor, I'm not sure. I would probably want to talk to council about that, but it gives me that kind of hinky feeling on the back of my neck when you run into an agreement like that, where you're basically ceding access to town property. And then somebody else says, well, I want to use the back part over here to have my chickens out there. And it's kind of maintaining the sanctity of which, not only in common law, but in statutory law, of property rights.
I mean, I understand all of that and would still try to make the case that there's a reasonable proposal that I can make that would not set precedent. I mean, this is a property that this building, we're the only real situation here, right? And this was an area that up until 4 or 5 months ago, no one cared about. And we really didn't believe at the time that we were taking town property. And we understand the concern is the 20-year rule. We would be happy even on a release scenario to say, look, we have no rights to this property, but there's an agreement or some sort of compromise. Right now, again, it's our problem, certainly no one else's problem, but the parking situation there. And then this is another part of the proposal would be, we are having work that will be done, some hardscaping that should allow us to add a parking spot to the right in the spring. The problem with the work that we wanted to have done was that a lot of it was contingent on the water, the city, the town and the state water issues that we've been discussing, and then trying to figure out what contractor could come in and do drains and all this other stuff. And it just, time has gone on. We're all set to have that done, plus a bunch of other work on the house. And we fully believe by like the spring, there's going to be a completely different setup out there for parking anyway. And so not that it's what's going on in time here, but the garage itself doesn't have, you can't even fit a car in there right now. So you said, we'll just use the garage. You can't really use the way it's set up as a pole in the middle. So what I'm getting at is that, back to my original request, is that if I can come back next week with something that's specific, and maybe we can have a conversation about that. And if you're saying no right now, well, I mean, I'm just asking to come back with a more specific proposal. But if it's a flat out no, then I
I'll
don't.
sit on here in a second. I have no problem listening to
Right.
any suggestion or proposal.
Right.
I will say that I consider property lines in sacrosanct, and not, if there was an exchange of something of value for something of value, like a piece of land, I have no issue with that.
Okay.
But I would have an issue if somebody was parking on my land or using land that is not mine. And I understand, but one of the things when you buy a piece of property, it's incumbent on you to do your due diligence and know where those property lines and the boundaries are.
Understood.
So I will listen to what you propose, but that's the way I look at property
Well, I'll be
in
very,
Hampshire.
sorry, but I'll be very clear. We would put an offer in to buy that piece of land at a fair market value.
Well, that would have to go through a vote by the town, whether
Right.
they do that. And so, but
Again, I'll put all the options on there, and if you guys say no, you say no. I mean,
I have no option to listening.
I have no problem hearing your ideas.
okay, so I'll come back with
Mark,
specifics and then,
Mark?
Yeah, I'm just hearing little choppy pieces, but he wants to use parking space. Is that,
he wants to park against the garage there half on town property and
He
half on
wants to
his.
come back next week and propose some ideas, if you're willing to
Yeah.
hear them.
yeah, I don't know how much that would be worth it to him if he was saying he wants to lease that space or whatever, but sure, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
okay. Great, thank you.
Yep.
Back next week.
Yes, sir. Anything from the audience?
It's a good time for me to speak. Is that correct?
On that subject?
Oh, not on that subject, no.
Okay. All right. We'll get there. I got you covered. No ex officio this week. We haven't had any meetings since the last one. Mr. Frame, town landing repairs.
You guys get that submittal that I sent you.
Yep.
You have questions on that submittal that I sent you.
What's going to preclude this from happening again?
So, good question.
The anchors down at the bottom?
What did you say? The anchors will help. We didn't put anchors in there when Jeff built it. There was some old lines that went up to like either side, but that was on the old dock. This new dock is way lighter. It's really a freshwater dock, so it works. It's very common in these docks. The gentleman I had, you know, the aluminum marine fabrication, who submitted the quote, he's like, yeah, I do this all the time on this exact dock. It can happen, but you can repair it. And that's what he showed us. So in that images that I showed you, he's like, yes, exactly what happens. But to help, he's like, you should put anchors down. Okay. We thought about it, but now we really should just do it.
Anything, Ken?
Is this something we would,
I
Get
think we
other
should put it in
bids
the
on?
budget for next year. I think this is something that needs to be repaired.
Yeah.
Usage of the town landing is quite popular.
Yeah, it's going up. It's good.
I think it needs, this is just something part of the
I don't
maintenance.
know what happened. Yeah, you know, I looked at replacing we've talked about docks and all that stuff. It's working. You know, some people like a little bigger and less wobbly, but it's sufficient.
Again,
1475.
Biggest chunk of that, Mark, is the welding. Almost 950. 950. That's aluminum, so
So it's a
if it
little,
was steel, we could do it, but it's aluminum. So I don't know anybody that welds aluminum.
I think we put it, I look putting it in the budget, but I think it's, I believe it needs to be done.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah.
Anything, anybody from the audience on this subject matter? In that case, well done, Mike. Don't go anywhere. Let's talk about library HVAC repair.
Yeah.
Jack,
Yeah, we got the three estimates that we thought we needed. We're gonna recommend that the first one I got from Key Heating and Cooling be the one to go with. Mainly there was a less expensive one by a couple of $1,000s from AirServe, but they quoted me a gas-fired furnace and not oil. And when I contacted him about it, he said, "Oh yeah, you're right. I know it's oil. I saw your oil tank." He was going to give me a new estimate, quoting oil. Never happened. I tried 3 times to get, 2 more times to get to it.
answers that question, doesn't it?
I don't think they'll be reliable. And the other one was from East Coast, which was was twice almost twice what we were going to get. Win has put in our proposal here for 17.5 rather than exactly 16,422, which would what the estimate was. But we know by the time everything gets voted on, I'll have to get another estimate. At that point, they'll probably revise it upwards. So that's why we tucked a little bit more in there.
Oh, it begs the question. Friends in the library. Are they gonna play in this or not?
I'd say no.
Say no. The center of the town, after we took a vote, as you know,
To ask that, and we did. You went and spoke to them. We've got correspondence back and forth that, and as you know, when they stood here, members of the audience who related to them, married to them, et cetera, were like, hey, really feel the town should pay for this. Everybody gets that sentiment, and I've heard it both ways. Hey, you said it kind of best, Hobie. It would be nice if they did right. That is totally up to them. We can ask. They can say no. It doesn't say change the problem. They say no, they say no. They're separate 501c3. Doesn't hurt to ask, but it still got a budget for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Tina Thomas, that I'm part of the Friends of the Library. Sorry, I
Speak up.
nervous. Anyway, what the Friends had asked was to look at the 3 bids and to get that information. And it's not this, no, we understand that we're part of this community. So I'm not speaking as the president, that would definitely be Beth. But we are still waiting for those 3 bids and the discussion to talk about, to see what the amount is. So just so that it's more reasonable, it's not this hard no, we just want to understand. I get the sense from understanding in our meetings that we're not understanding why maintenance is part of the Friends.
You're not going to what? I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
I guess there's a not clear understanding of why maintenance falls on the Friends of a town building. I'm not going there. I don't want to go there. I'm just saying that, but that's where the point that we kind of waited. I know that Beth reached out to Win with regard to, let's see what the 3 bids are, so we have a better understanding about the money that's being requested.
And I will go there for the record, just so it's on the record again, as far as why we're asking. And the town, it is a town building. I fully understand that, and I think all of us accept that responsibility. When we could go way back to the history of last year and not getting the bids and taking care of it in this year's budget, it didn't happen. We had $20,000 in expenses on this building, which were not foreseen, that had to be done. Again, this was a need, not a want. And this was an opportunity to, we just got hit by like $11 and some odd change is what the school tax is going to be per thousand. So we're getting squeezed on all corners here, and we go, how can we mitigate the impact on all the people in this town? And so that if we have a resource, if we can even tap it partially and see if they're willing to stand up and move forward, that would be the benefit of the town. And that's the whole reason. There's no denial that it's the town's building at all. And we're just trying to figure out, I will be presumptive to say, we're trying to figure out how we can skin this cat with minimal impact.
We get it.
on people's wallets.
I think on the Friends end, they were looking at on the Friends end, we're looking at the legality of it as 503C. And that's really where it gets, the water's getting muddied.
Well,
And-
you guys you did buy put the parking lot in. So as far as you guys putting capital improvements in, that's not been an issue. And you also contributed funds to the rehab part of the library. So as far as capital improvements by the Friends of the Library, that has transpired 2 times in the past, 5 years?
Okay, that's
an issue. That's not an issue.
One of the things that I noticed when I read the original charter is the word facility was worked in there. That, the goal of the Friends of the Library is to enhance the library, to help make it better, not to make it exist, right? Not to fully fund it or anything.
It's more on a literacy and community.
Enriching literacy, access to books and materials and activities. And just because the word facility is in there, I think it gives a little leeway for choosing what the Friends might want to fund or not fund, not to say they're responsible in any way to fund it. And so I just felt
And
like.
that's not the direction of the board, is to get, we're trying to skin that cat,
Right.
I understand.
And I think if it didn't say that at all, I would say then the Friends would be on.
Are you saying with this as facilities? Because I'm not saying with regard to our bylaws or anything that there's a word.
Yeah, no, in the original charter, I think one of the prior meetings, it came in here, and then just reading through it, it included the word facility as far as, I think it was like the intention.
That's not in our mission, but that's okay. Things change, and I'm not here to clarify and argue the point.
Right.
I just wanted to say that that's where we were at. We were looking at the bid.
Makes sense.
So we're trying to get that information and then.
and I think if we can.
And try and skin that cat.
And I do want to come back to this because I want to have some clarity. So what we said, we reached out, said we're going to share, once we get the bids,
You were waiting.
we're going to share it with the select board.
Yep.
Select board determines who we're going to go with.
Yep.
Not the Friends.
Correct.
The Friends have 0 say, and there's a yes and a no vote. There's communication to say, hey, we would like to have some discussion on it. We will happily share the bids,
No.
but I'm just clarifying because this hasn't been cleared with them at all. We have not talked about anything that was in the original contract. It's crystal clear from all parties that the town is responsible for the library. All they're asking, and I think it's true, can we ask the Friends for the money? Would they do that? Yes or no? It
And I
is that
think-
simple. It's
So
just-
once you decide on the bid, we're looking for that number and then
Yes,
it
and
has to
we
go
have
back.
to, with you,
And that's
but
all, it's just, we've been
we've been
floating.
waiting for the bid, as Jack said, and when they
Right.
just got it, so they're seeing it today. You guys, I would respectfully say, hey, you guys, look at that. Would you agree with this?
Time is of the essence on that, and
Right.
we will have a decision by the next board meeting.
But to be clear, I put this in the budget.
Understand?
Okay, so and if we say, hey, we want to cut that out. Because it's not enough, the furnace is not dead,
Well,
it's great, but it ain't dead,
well, if you delay it, what happens?
goes up.
Everything goes up in cost, labor, parts, equipment.
Just like labor in the library.
So,
Mhm.
So that's where we stand, and we have not communicated back to them.
Right. because
We're with you, and I don't want anyone to think
and
we're ignoring you or not. We have not even responded to them
That's
until we had this meeting.
Marty?
Let's just see the bids. I know we're in a sticky situation here. You're in a no-win situation. You're right in the middle, and I applaud you for doing what you're doing. I just had a question for you. I know you were going to the Brook and tapping them as a nonprofit. Has that continued or?
Yeah, that's the Friends, Mark. So the Friends do that work. The trustees are not involved in that other than, hey, we know about it. But they went this year. They'll probably continue to go. You have to go back yearly and apply for the bid. But that is the Friends. Any questions on that? Ask you to refer it back to Beth and their team.
Other facilities as well. It doesn't have to just be the Brook, right? I mean, there's probably a handful of them on the seacoast, I would imagine.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, the fact that the Friends got the Brook is the best one in the seacoast. I mean, they're killing it. Because you can go to other card houses and things. I know we did that for Main Street, but they're pretty lucky.
Others could write a check as in.
Yeah, but Mark, you have to apply for that. And the Friends have been doing this for so long, they kind of get grandfathered in. They have to reapply every year.
Okay.
Apply.
All right. So you all set, Mark?
So the next step would just be you guys give us what you like. We'll share it with the Friends, but you guys say yay or nay. And then they can say yay or nay on.
Understand it, and that will have an answer for you at the next board meeting. Okay, what your decision is carries a lot of weight as far as your contract that you like, so I don't think it'll be rocket surgery to figure it out. We think you should go with.
Right.
Okay, Michael, did you have something you wanted to add? Okay, no. Anything from the audience on that one? I'll take that as a negative. Fire truck bids. We do have 2 fire truck bids here. The chief was not available tonight. He had too late for any. You can't get the fire truck now. You didn't put it in.
You don't know what's in that envelope? Maybe it is.
Nice.
That one.
We have 2 bids here. One for $10,450 and one for $5,900. I think we should go with the 10,451.
I concur.
Doing some marine math from public, that's the way I think we'll do it.
You think, Mark?
You good? You good with that? All right, I will notify that they won that bid.
Who left money there?
Mr. The road agent. Okay, took care of that, took care of that. The We have the tax collector's warrant, property tax levy, state of New Hampshire. In the name of the state, you're hereby directed to collect the property taxes in the list herewith, committed to you, amounting to the sum of $4,074,616.86, with an interest at 8% annum from December 29th, 2025 thereafter on all sums not paid on it for that day. And we further order you to remit all monies collected to the town treasurer or to the town treasurer's designee as provided by an RSA, at least on a weekly basis or daily whenever tax receipts total $1,500. Given out in our hands, Newfields, New Hampshire Select Board. Any issues with this? Okay. Mark, when you get a chance, make on that, please, sir. Sue needs to get it back.
Yeah.
Minutes from previous meetings. I would like to hold the November 18 minutes for future review because I've got a couple points of clarity I need to catch up with Keisha on that one.
Okay.
And then we have the minutes from Monday, 24 November, when we set the tax rate. It came in at 1735 as referenced, and by tapping our designated funds, we dropped it down to 1695 total. The town rate originally was going to be $3.20 per thousand. It is now $2.80 per thousand. County tax rate is steady at 63 cents. The local school rate is $12.42 per thousand. And the state education rate is $1.10 per thousand. So once again, it's school that's hitting us really hard. So just to give you a heads up on that. Also, that one. So.
Yeah. Same thing. It's everything.
I just.
said.
Yeah. All right, the next thing we have, the Friends of the Library like to rent the town hall for a trivia event on, hosted by the Friends on Sunday, February 1st. And I think if we can get them to rent it for $16,422.34, we'll have a winner. That's probably not a go though, is it? All right, so this will be a no alcohol event. Expect 30 to 70 peeps will be showing up for it. Any comments, suggestions, Kat? You good?
That looks good.
Mark, you good? Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I did that.
Okay. Did you want to approve the minutes from our meeting on the?
Yeah, are you good with those?
Yeah.
I just want to catch that, so, yeah. I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes from the, what's it,
Monday, November 24th.
24th of November. All in favor? Aye.
Second, aye.
Second, and
Yep,
aye. Thank
second,
you.
Great.
And we'll hold off on the other ones till I get those corrections with Keisha. Mark? Mr. Steiner, what have you got, sir?
Good evening. I'm Mark Steyer. I live on Heath Drive. Hope you probably think I'm here to make some request or clarification regarding the library, but in fact, that's not the case. And I have to admit that I think I'm a week late to make this my next statement because Thanksgiving was a week ago. But what I'm here is to express Karen and my heartfelt thanks to the select board for their dedication to improving our community. I certainly realize that I don't always agree with the decisions that the select board makes, but I do know that everybody's heart is in the right place. And these are difficult decisions. So I just want to say I can imagine that your jobs are sometimes seemingly thankless, but in fact, that's not the case. We're appreciative of what you guys do and recognize that it's a big job, and we're very thankful for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's why they pay us the big bucks. Thank you very much, sir. Was it the warrant articles?
Well, yeah,
Okay, because I want to touch base on that too.
sure. Well, that's what I was gonna.
Okay.
Mhm.
We've been going back and forth with warrant article 5, warrant article 10 that were drafted last year. They were approved by the DRA. They were
Mhm.
voted on. And then for some reason, the state of New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration said they were not drafted properly. And warrant article 10 covers the ALS, the advanced life support, where we put $25,000 into that account. By the way, we also have a $1 line item in the budget, just so that's open and so we can fund it for future reference. And the second one dealt with Celebration Expendable Trust Fund. I have talked to some folks about this, who have knowledge about this. Can you hear me, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay. And they were of mixed opinion on this. The options were to have another meeting, which would have to be, let's see, how would they phrase it? We could have a meeting and have a current warrant. Supposedly the current warrant articles are invalid and cannot be corrected without a special meeting, lengthy process and court approval. The other recommendation is to put through a new set of warrant articles with the proper wording at the deliberative session. And the third option was given to me just today in conversation was don't do anything. The DRA approved these. They said they were acceptable. They were voted on. And then the DRA came back after the fact and said, well, we have an issue with it. And were it to come to the point, well, that's your opinion. Our opinion is contrary. So this is fine. I've got another source I want to tap for knowledge on this. But it's more than a little frustrating to go through what we went through to get these warrant articles approved by the state and then have them voted on and accepted by the citizens and then have the government come back and once again, drop a dime on us and say, no, they're not good. So that is still in work. So that's.
I'm of the same mind. I actually, when I followed up with Derek, he said he never was able to connect with the DRA attorney on it when he gave us his guidance about rewriting them and having them put on the ballot in the spring. That guidance was having not spoken to the DRA attorney, which he still hasn't. And then my next question was, what are the consequences if we do nothing? And he said on the off chance, they could ask us to give all the money back, but it's not very likely. And that's still a decision that we would have to
And
make.
it's interesting because all the money, quote unquote, came out of unexpended funds. It was not raised last year's tax.
And we had a thorough deliberative session with a lot of discussion. And as the warrant articles passed, the funds and the accounts were set up properly the way they're supposed to be. So my understanding is the state's complaint was that there could be confusion about money being commingled in accounts. That was the premise of the concern, is that voters understand that by voting for those, we created 4 accounts. And I think that's pretty clear, and it's been discussed in the deliberative session, and it's been discussed here. None of the money has been mishandled, nor will it be mishandled. And so I think the idea of not doing anything is an idea worth thinking about.
Mark?
Who was the person that wrote the letter? Who was the person that had sent correspondence to us?
It came from the Attorney General's office, the DRA, and it was signed by Catherine de Oliveira, Municipal Accounts Advisor. CC, the Charitable Trust Unit, Department of Justice, the Municipal Trustee of Trust Funds Board, and cites some RSAs that are applicable.
So maybe if we sent them back a response to say, please, we've made numerous attempts to reach out to you for clarification, CCing Derek on that, and saying, if we don't hear back from you within 15 days, we're assuming that everything that we are doing currently is fine. And we'll accept your silence as an approval. I mean, you can't just not answer you after bringing it up, saying this is a mess. I mean, it's almost like if someone was doing fixing up a home and putting in a permit, and they said this is a mess. You can't. You're not approved for this.
No.
Okay.
So, Mark, we did get a response back when we talked with the charitable trust unit, and they were clear that as a board, we were to communicate with the trustees of trust funds to make sure that the money wasn't being commingled and that there was actually 4 accounts that got set up by 3 Bearings that manages our money. And then I connected with Steve Yevich about that, and he assured me it was all handled appropriately. 3 Bearings was very aware when they saw the warrant articles come through. They knew exactly how it was supposed to be handled. And the deliberative session was very thorough. The conversations were very thorough with everyone who was here participating. And so I feel like we do have a lot of evidence that people knew they were voting for this, and that when it was passed, the funds have been handled appropriately and will continue to be. I don't think that there's a crack in that. I think their only question was whether the language in the warrant articles was clear enough for voters to understand what they were voting for, and
Which they approved.
Mike Sununu has something to say, so.
Also. Michael?
Michael Sununu, 184 Exeter Road. I think you're absolutely correct on this. The only way this gets challenged is if somebody who donated money into this decides to challenge at some future date, tries to challenge this. The Attorney General's office and the DRA 6 months from now will never even think about this ever again. And to your point, Catherine, we did this properly. We ran this by DRA. These funds will be handled by the trustees correctly. They know what to do with it. I don't think you have any problem just moving forward. And and I understand Mark's point, but the more you communicate with the CTU and the Attorney General's office and the DRA, the more they're going to dig their heels in to try to prove a point that isn't worth proving, and we're just going to end up spending more on legal fees.
I think it's kind of a let sleeping dogs sleep lie.
Correct. And so, I mean, from that standpoint, I think the town is on very strong legal ground. And let's face it, as a small town, I really don't think this will ever be challenged 5 years, 10 years, 20 years hence. Thank you.
So, taking the bull by the horns here, I'll make a motion, we move forward as is and take no further action on this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Put that to bed. All right. Next item. So I had a rather detailed discussion today with the chair of the Donner Foundation. And the Donner Foundation is the entity that is paid for our ALS obligations for this year. And they are paying for our ALS obligations for the coming year. This is the same entity that has also bought 3 ALS response vehicles and fully outfitted them at probably $150,000 to $175,000 per vehicle. We have, like I said, last year, 2025 was paid for. 2026 will be paid for. And after that, we're on our own. Now, we have gone 32 years with never having to pay a penny for ALS service. Advanced life support is critical. Having been a beneficiary of their incredible skill set, I have a deep affection for them. Questions were asked, well, how's it going to be rated now? Starting in 27, it's based on residents and not split between domiciles and residents. And it will come out to approximately $26 per person per year for ALS service. And people have asked me, well, it's just my wife and I and our kids. And you go, how old's your youngest kid? And well, 18 months. Having been an EMT, if you've seen an 18-month-old, they circle the drain really quick. When they're in an emergency situation, you need that knowledge and skill set. And it's the same with those of us who are getting gray hair and advancing in years. You know, when things go south, they go south on you pretty quick. I cannot support any stronger the need for funding ALS. What this boils down to is starting in 27, we'll be on the hook for approximately, as of right now, approximately $47,000. We have put $25,000 into the ALS warrant article. We'll discuss it later as we get into it, but I would recommend that we consider a similar contribution this year out of unencumbered funds so that we have a solid basis so we can start dealing with this. So next year, we'll be able to cover that. And then eventually in year 6, we'll be paying $75,000 a year approximately. And that's at this contract and the rates that are set now. The way it's set up now, people could buy in per call and have them respond, and then they pay for them. The Attorney General's office has gotten involved, and there's a new contract that just came out from Plastow. And if you are not a full buy-in, then there's no option to pay per call. You have to pay per individual and base it on population. One of the thought processes is that we need to put this on the budget and have it on a line item. As I referenced earlier, we do have a line item in the budget now with $1 in it, just so we have that open so that we can start working forward and keep that whole placeholder in online. See how we get around this. I don't see how we turn it down, how we don't pay for it, how we just don't bite the bullet and go forward with it. But that's my soapbox on it. Kat?
In terms of the contract, are we locked in, or do we have an option down the line to opt out if, in fact, by some grace, we decide to have these services in-house? Sounds unreasonable maybe, but are we locked in for 7 years, or?
It is in a long-term contract
Right,
like
okay.
that.
So we have.
To run an ALS coverage in-house, it's got to be at least $200,000 a year in salary
So
alone,
this is what we're.
plus a $150,000 vehicle, plus a place to store it.
Mhm.
Now, Plastow did come to Newfields and say, hey, if you got a place you can park a response car for $36,000 a year rent, they pay us, which I told them I'd heat my garage for them.
Mhm.
No, we don't have, our firehouse does not have the ability. We don't have the footprint for that.
Mhm.
And I guess Stratum just turned it down. Supposedly they turned it down. And that third vehicle that was bought by the Downer Foundation was going to go to where it's going to go. So
Place to park it.
that's the latest word. I have not heard anything definitive either way.
But I think it's important when we're looking at the cost to compare what it would cost to do this ourselves.
Which segues right into the issue of the public safety complex
Mhm.
that has had, Wayne, one meeting. And one of the things for that is looking for the piece of property,
Mhm.
where to locate the structure. First of all, define the need. And I think if you look at the reports who came through?
Primex.
Yeah, when Primex came through, both the fire department and the police department do not meet the qualifications and the standards of a police or fire department in 2025. And there is a need for fire EMS or fire emergency management and police. And also it could have a facility like that where we could get some rent from somebody. We have to look forward and be proactive in what we're going to do. Now we're going to need to spend some money on that so we can have the engineering plans and the design plans all set. So when grants show up, because if the grants show up and you don't have a plan, they just go throw your paperwork in the trash because they won't move. The government will not move forward unless you can demonstrate to them that you're ready to go. So that's coming down the pipe, in addition to all the other expenses we've referenced tonight that we're dealing with in November and December and into January. So other than that, Mr. Lincoln, anything from the audience? Anybody want to throw something in? I'll take that as Mark. No, Kat? All right. Nothing else? That's it? Chief, you got anything? In that case, thank you for being here. I'll make a motion